Was buzzing, flitting wasps. Welcome back to Monkey Boys Toys, and welcome back to the sofa. Thanks very much for joining me again. Here's a hippo to look at. Now, I've got something a little bit different for you this week. I've got a bit of a dilemma upstairs in the bedroom, and it might be something that you can help out with. So stick around to the end of the video to see how you might be of some assistance to me. Before I take you up into the bedroom to show you the issue, I thought I'd just set a couple of ground rules. Number one, these are my things, not yours. Please don't touch anything. Number two, if you see any lizards running around, please do your best to capture them and return them to me. I'm having a real problem with the lizards everywhere, so I'd really appreciate your help in capturing them. And number three, have fun. Right, without further ado, let's go upstairs and see what the issue is. Going up the stairs. And here is the issue. A really boring wardrobe. Now this is where I keep all my dead hookers, but as you can see it looks very boring and it's been doing my head in for some time now, and I really wanted to sort of zhuzh it up a little bit. So I've got something or a few things that I think might help to make this a bit more of an attractive item to look at. What I've decided to do is buy a few canvas prints of 80s movies, and I thought I'd stick them on the front of the cupboard here, on the front of the wardrobe, and that would help to sort of brighten it up a little bit and give something a little bit more interesting to look at rather than this soul-crushingly boring wardrobe. So having brought you all the way upstairs, I'm going to take you back downstairs to the sofa so we can see the items that I've bought to decorate the front of the wardrobe. Let's go back downstairs. I'll see you there. Right, here we are back downstairs. Let's remove the hippo, and I'll show you some of the canvas prints that I've bought. We'll start with this one, which is, I realise, not from the 80s. This is Jaws. This was actually made in 1975 and directed by Steven Spielberg. It's a story of a very large, grumpy fish that's terrorising a small coastal town. Obviously it's terrorising them from the sea, because sharks are a sea-based animal. And yes, the local police chief, Brody, played by Roy Scheider, teams up with a couple of guys to try and find this fish and make it dead. So yeah, that's the first one that I've got to stick on the wardrobe. It's Jaws. Now if you haven't seen Jaws, you're mental. Okay, now the second one that I've got to show you is this one. Now this isn't the movie poster, but it is a great shot of RoboCop. Now this was made in 1987 and it was released in early 1988, directed by Paul Verhoeven, and it's the story of a Detroit police officer that gets shot to bits and pieces by some very naughty men, and his body is then claimed by OCP Corporation, and he is sort of transformed into the bionic RoboCop. It's a great film, very violent. I saw this film when I was about 10 years old, and it really sort of blew me away. I'd never seen any violence quite like it. So this really shaped my youth, you could say. So there we go. There's a RoboCop. If you haven't seen RoboCop, you're mental. Let's have a look at the next one that I've got. Is Back to the Future. Now this was made in 1985, directed by Robert Zemeckis, and it's the story of Marty McFly, a teenager who makes friends with a chap called Doc Brown. played by Chris Lloyd. I should say Marty McFly is played by Michael J. Fox, of course. Anyway, Marty and Doc sort of experiment with a time machine that they've created out of a DeLorean car. And basically, Marty goes back in time and narrowly avoids having sex with his mother. But you've probably all seen Back to the Future, but if you haven't, then you're mental. Okay, and the next one we've got here is The Terminator, and this was made in 1984 and directed by James Cameron, and it tells the story of a T-800 Terminator played by Schwarzenegger, who comes back from the future to 1984 in order to murder Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton. She is helped in her survival by Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, and it's a really, really good action-packed sort of thriller action movie. Most of you have probably seen The Terminator. If you haven't seen The Terminator, then you're mental. Okay, now the next one we've got, sticking with the Schwarzenegger theme, is Commando. Now this was made the following year to Terminator. This was made in 1985 and directed by Mark L. Lester, and it tells the story of John Matrix, whose daughter is kidnapped by some very naughty men, and he's having none of it, basically. So it's a story of revenge, and there's a lot of shooting in it. Schwarzenegger shoots everyone in the world in this film. Commando was notorious for having lots of sort of continuity errors and issues with the film. It's full of cheesy one-liners, but I absolutely loved this film as a kid, and I still love it to this day. So there's Commando. If you haven't seen Commando, then you're mental. Let's have a look at the next one. The next one we've got, also from 1985, is Fright Night. Now this was directed by Tom Holland, not that Tom Holland, but a different Tom Holland. And it's the story of Charlie Brewster, who tries desperately to convince his friends and family that a vampire has moved in next door. It's a great film. It's a film that I avoided for a long time because, quite honestly, the cover that you see here really freaked me out, and I thought the film would be too scary for me, so I didn't actually watch this until I was quite a lot older. But it is a great film. It's been remade recently, but the original is probably the best. Interestingly, the music for Fright Night was done by Brad Fiedel, which is the same guy that did the music for The Terminator. Anyway, there's Fright Night, and if you haven't seen Fright Night, then you're a bit mental. Let's have a look at the next one. The next one we've got is Ghostbusters. This was made in 1984 and directed by Ivan Reitman, and it's the story of sort of three struggling scientists that decide to go into the business of ghost removal. It's a great comedy film, fun for all the family, an absolute classic, one of the best films that came out of the 80s. Most of you probably will have seen Ghostbusters, but if you haven't, then you're mental. And last up for today, we've got The Lost Boys. Now this was made in 1987 and it was directed by Joel Schumacher, and it's the story of a small Californian town that's being terrorized by vampires. It stars Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patric, and the two Coreys, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. It's a really good film, a great vampire film, and a great all-round film. Again, it's sort of like a comedy horror, but it's really worth a look. If you haven't seen The Lost Boys, I highly recommend it. But if you haven't seen it, you're mental. Anyway, there are the pictures that I've got to hang on the wardrobe. So let's get that done, and then I'll go up and show you what it looks like. Going back up the stairs. So here we go. I think you'll agree that looks a lot better. That's brightened the room up a little bit. Now where you guys can help me is, if you look off to the sides here, you can see that I've got space for at least 4 more pictures. Now, what films from the 80s would you suggest that I get pictures of? It can be anything: horror, action, comedy, science fiction, whatever it might be. But what films from the 80s do you think should be represented on my dead hooker wardrobe? But that's what I've got so far. So yeah, if you can help me out, that would be great. I'll look at your suggestions and then decide what other pictures to put up. I think I can certainly get another 4, possibly even 6. But I don't really want to move my Ghostbusters and things from the bottom here, because I don't have anywhere else to display those. So let's go with 4. So any suggestions in the comments would be greatly received. Right, let's go back downstairs to the sofa and finish up the video. Going down the stairs. So, yes, here we are back at the sofa. Have a hippo to look at again. So that's more or less the end of the video. I'd really appreciate it if you drop me a note in the comments and let me know which classic 80s movie posters you think would look good on the wardrobe with the others. It would be great to have your feedback. So yeah, that's about it. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up and share it with any other flitting wasps you may know. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yeah, I'll see you next time. But until then, I'm going to make like a shepherd and get the flock out of here. See you later. Bye.